I have been getting all kinds of information about what's going on in Ecuador this week, and I've been hearing about how things have gotten a lot worse. And so I'm bringing on a guest that's in Ecuador to kind of talk about the situation, what's going on, and I'm really pretty excited about that. So we will be taking some questions. So if you let me invite him. And so just either use the bubble down below, or you can use the question box. So welcome, Eduardo.
Hey, how are you, Scott? How do you do?
I'm great. So for people that are just joining us, I'm Scott Shepard. I'm host of the Flower Podcast. And through our mutual friend, Saeed, we've connected. And this, everybody, is Eduardo. I'm going to probably mispronounce a few things along the way, so forgive me. But Eduardo Letort, is that how you say your name?
Yes, that's fine. That's perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
What I said.
And so you are the CEO of is it Hoya Verde Roses?
Hoja verde.
Okay.
It's green leaf in English.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I want to. On top of that, I don't want to forget this either. You're the president of the Cayamba Association of Floriculture, which you have your fingers on the pulse, if anybody does, of what's going on, I think. And I appreciate your time. I know this is a crazy time, and it's a scary time for a lot of people. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I know today I saw a video of one of my vendors, and their truck got held hostage, and they were, you could see the rose boxes inside there and doors wide open, nothing's refrigerated, and it's just, it's a loss. And it's really scary. So can you, tell us a little bit more about yourself, your company, what you do, what you produce, so we kind of have a place to start.
Well, as you say, I am Eduardo Letort, and I'm a CEO and founder of Hoja Verde Roses. We started in 1997. We grow, about in acres is around 120 acres of production.
Wow.
Of roses, mainly in Cayambe, in the valley of Cayambe. Our exports are about 1/3 to the States, I would say another 1/3 to Europe, and a little bit to Russia. We have reduced Russia since the war quite a bit. And we are a fair trade certified farm, B Corp, and we are very focused in the social side of the business. And at the moment, with all these things happening, it's if you ask me, I think the situation starts with a political situation. Most of the time, it starts with a political situation, because we have elections next year, early next year. Local elections is not for president. We have the election for president was about a year ago, but now we have midterm elections, which is for local authorities, I would say. And there's a political party of the indigenous people, of the indigenous population, the Indian population, and they are asking a lot of things to the government, because, as you know, the cost of living is rising in the last months because of COVID, logistics, the war. So fertilizers are up between, 30 to 3 times the price, depending on what fertilizer. Packing material is up, food is up. So people are quite easy to move them, and these political movements have, how would I say, they have the raw material to work with them. So it's easy to arouse them. It's easy to bring them into riots. So that's what has happened. And Ecuador has one of the lowest cost of petrol in South America. So it's not the cost of petrol, but they are using it as a tool for the riots.
And so what I have seen is that a lot of, and I actually had the opportunity, I don't even know, a long time ago to visit Quito. Mm-hmm. And when you see and you travel these mountains, it's a network of roads that brings everybody to the airport, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy, I would imagine, to just have a well-placed blockade, so to speak, and you create a lot of havoc for many farms, right?
Yes, yes, yes. There's excuse me, a blockade just by close to Cayambe.
Yeah.
Valley of Cayambe is like all blocked. The south also, the south, the Cotopaxi area also is a big production area. It's a little bit more heavy than the north. They are more aggressive in the south. They have kidnapped trucks. They have entered into the companies, into the flower farms, taking the workers out.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes almost kidnapping the workers to take them into the riots also. In the north, we have had blockades, but without much violence. We haven't had any violence, and the rioters have come to the farms and asked us to close the farm. Today, several farms had to close their doors and take the workers out, so they would avoid any violent situation. So some farms will be closed tomorrow. Our group of farms we will closing tomorrow to avoid any potential harm to the workers. And so far, we have been able in the north, Cayambe, Tabacundo, we have able to ship, I would say, about 80% of our production in the last days.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 70, 80. We have taken the trucks through the mountains, pay to the people of the blockage to allow us to pass. Take the trucks, drive the trucks at 3 o'clock in the morning to the airport in hours that they are resting, and we are able to go through like convoys. On Friday, we got 150 trucks to the airport at 2 a.m. So we are doing, you cannot imagine what we are doing in order to take our flowers to the markets, because we know that you guys depend on what we do in our side. So for us, it's super important to get those flowers into the market.
I know I've heard stories of like people, like teams of people walking boxes across like creeks or small rivers and helicopters. And I mean,
Yes.
it's so crazy. And I feel like in a lot of ways, like we might see this on the news here, or we might see it on social media from one of the big wholesalers, like talking about it. But I don't think people have felt it yet because there was so much product already in the pipeline. But this has been going on for over a week now, right?
Right. Yes. It started on last Monday. So it's about 9 days at the moment. And yeah, there's some farms, not many, but there's some that have taken with a helicopter. The cost of taking those flowers is the same cost as the price. But sometimes they have space in the airlines that they need to fill. So they will pay double if they don't get the boxes into the airplane. So they are using.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we, in our farm, we had to cross a stream. It's not a big river, but it's a stream with the boxes at the during the day that the rioters were having like a resting time. We used that moment to get the box to the other farm that is at the other side of the river, which through that road is easier to get to the airport. But yeah, we have made a lot of crazy things to get those flowers to the market.
So Eduardo, I know that you may not have all these numbers at your fingertips, but like on average, do you know how many planes usually leave Ecuador to come to the States?
I wouldn't have those numbers. Okay. But at the moment, there's a few that's been canceled.
Right.
Some passenger flights have been canceled. Cargo, I haven't heard any cargo being canceled so far, but passengers have been canceled in the last day or two. Because yesterday, today no, but yesterday the airport was blocked. So some airlines decided to go back to the States. For example, there was a United flight plane that went back. From Fort Lauderdale was the name. Also, they went back. Mm-hmm. So there are some how would I say, some disruption in flights at the moment.
Sure. So if anybody has a question they want to put in the comment section, feel free to do it. In the meantime, I wanted to ask, so knowing how the roads are a little bit, I mean, I'm no expert by any means. What percentage of farms do you think are being impacted by these strikes?
The first days, I would say there were about 60% of the farms, because there's some farms that are close to Quito, close to the airport, they were not affected. But at the moment, I would say about 80–90% of the farms are affected in some way or another. At the north, we have not been able to ship anything from Monday and Tuesday. Our trucks are halfway, but they are stuck in another blockade. The south also, they had issues since Saturday. There's some intermittent trucks that are able to go through, but I would say the last 2–3 days been the worst so far. Today is a heavy day. I mean, the rioters are in the capital city. There's a lot of police. There's the army is also in place. But the police and the army are not, well, the president has not given the authorization of use of lethal weapons. So there's no weapons being used at the moment. It's only defensive, gas, water, things like that, but no lethal weapons have been used so far. And we hope they don't use lethal weapons, so
right.
We will not escalate. I think that it should not last more than maybe one day, an additional day, because I feel that this time the army and the police, they have more army and police in the strategic places, and they are controlling the riots in Quito. And this I don't think will last long, because people that came from the Indians that are coming from distance, they cannot stay without food or sleeping well for maybe more than 2–3 days. So
sure,
I don't think it will take too long.
Sure. I know we had a person ask a question a minute ago, like, what can we do to help? And of course, I'm curious what your thoughts are. I think because it's political, there's not a lot we can do, but be patient. I mean, be patient and know that our product is coming, or know that people are trying to they're doing their best, right?
Be patient. Maybe there will be some delays. If you're ordering for Monday, maybe you'll get it on Tuesday or Wednesday. As I say, at the moment, we are tracking maybe about 70–80% of the production. So there will be some reduction in your orders, but we will get there sooner or later, 1 day or 2 days late. Ecuadorian flowers last long in the vase, so there shouldn't be any problem for your customers also. And we are working for every day to try to get those flowers to the airport. I really hope that it will not last more than another day, and by the end of the week or Thursday, we should be going back to normal. Ecuador is not a violent place. We are not violent. We don't have guns. We don't shoot each other. So there's a lot of pressure by the society against these rioters. So also there's the United Nations and the European community helping in trying to create that dialogue between the president and the rioters. So I hope that will be fruitful in the next hours.
So do you really feel like this is them trying to position themselves, this group, to be heard when it comes time for your vote next year, the election next year?
Yes, I think it's part of that. Also behind of this, there's some narco movement. Ecuador, in the last years, Ecuador has, because we have the dollar and as a currency, is being used like money laundry country. With the government, we had a government that lasted for 14 years. It was a left, what we call the socialist on the 21st century of like Venezuela, some countries in South America, and they are like kind of linked to the narco movements of Mexico and Colombia. So there's some also involved and paying some rioters to create chaos, because this government is putting a lot of control for drugs. It's taking a lot of drug shipments, so it's putting it's hitting the drug cartels. So they don't want this government to be in place. So, but they are also fueling the riots, and they are more violent. Yeah, that's also involved in this part.
Sure. Do Ecuador is producing so many different flowers now. A lot of people just think roses, but that has changed a lot over the last 10 years. And there's a lot of different flowers that a lot of people rely on. And some of those flowers have longer shelf lives than others. Do you feel like well, let me back up and say this too, that I know one of the emails I saw today, because I've probably gotten 20 emails over the last 24 hours, just to kind of prepare. And that's one reason why when I saw Sahid's interview with you, I'm like, okay, I want to talk to somebody about this, because a lot of American florists or wedding professionals or people who buy flowers don't know what's going on, or if they do, they don't realize the severity of it. And so I'm encouraged to hear that you've been able, as a country, to get that big of a percentage of product out. I know with the delays and everything, with just flights and logistics, that's been a challenge too. But I guess some of the emails I've been getting have talked about, people's safety and making sure the farms are staying safe, and the people coming to work are safe, or maybe they're not coming to work. So I feel like sometimes with that kind of disruption in employees, will that impact the crops and the production very much, or is there enough people to keep things going, like even at your farm?
Our employees, I consider them like heroes. I mean,
sure.
These people are fantastic. They walk for an hour, 2 hours to get to the job without any pressure, because we don't tell them, if you don't come, you are fired. No, right. They come, and I will say that we have in our farms in the Cayambe, also in the Cayambe Valley, we have about around 90 to 95 how would I say, employee that came to the work, right? So there's the work, the routines, the maintenance of the plants, of the rose plants, or also the summer flower plants is doing quite well. I would say not 100%, but is on the right way. In the south, it's been a little bit more difficult. They have been more intermittent in the amount of workers. One day they have maybe full capacity, the other day is only 20%, 30%. Wow. So the south is a little bit more, some farms have been a little bit more affected, but they are doing a fantastic job. So the farms are, once this is over, in 1 week, we are back to normal.
No, that's awesome. That's great. And I mean, and not that this is good, but I know where I am in the country, as we approach our holiday, July 4th holiday season, the flower demand goes down a little bit or a lot in some areas. So I know that that's going to maybe help take some pressure off. But I know that in the end, there's still weddings happening, and there's still flower shops that need flowers. And I know that, I just appreciate you taking the time to come on and just sort of letting us know what's going on, so we can be more patient and understanding as we wait for whatever we need to wait for. So I truly do appreciate it. Is there, if you hope that in a couple of days that this is going to be over, which I understand why, and I think that's encouraging. How long before you think things sort of return to normal for Ecuador as a country?
Once the strike and the riots, they either reach an agreement, or they get tired because they don't see that things progressing. Right. We'll back to normal in a day or two. They have to clean the roads because there's a lot of blockage. they have to clean the roads, and we are back to normal. We have done this several times, and we are quite experts on this. Because we like to riots, and we like to block the roads from time to time. So we know how to do it, and we are back to normal in a few days.
Well, I've heard some people are saying they're sorry you have to deal with this, and I know that's a feeling among a lot of us. It was interesting. Let me see. There was a question up here. Oh, from my friend Jean Pascal. So he was wondering, how long does it, this is a totally different question now, okay? So how long does it normally take for, once you like go through and cut roses, like for those roses to reproduce again?
Depending on in roses, you have cycles, and depends on the variety. For example, a rose of freedom up in the north will take about 80 days. Once you cut them, and then the bud grows back again to be ready to be harvested, is about 90 days. You have some varieties that you might know. Tibet is a short cycle variety, 60 days. So you cut it, Tibet, in 60 days you have it back. Explorer, on the other hand, is one of the longest. It's about 105 days from harvest to harvest. So yeah, in the south, you have to add maybe another 5 days in all the varieties, because you are higher in altitude. They are reaching 2,900, 3,000 meters of altitude. In Cayambe, we are around 2,800 meters. That's the altitude.
Sure. Sure. Do you feel like from the pandemic, and this is another side question, from the pandemic and everything being over, are farms back to full capacity, aside from the strike, but as far as recovering from not being able to plant or plowing fields under or doing whatever maintenance they needed to do?
Well, in March 2020, it was like a collapse of the world. So for us in the flower business, we say, okay, nobody will buy flowers. They will buy toilet paper, and that was it. And we had to destroy the plant. So some farms made the wrong decision to plow the greenhouses, and they took the plants out or cut them to the base, to the roots almost. And those farms had a lot of issues during 2020 and early 2021. Farms like in our case, we didn't cut everything to the roots. We just cut a little bit of the production out to delay production for 2 months, for example. So we didn't plow the plants. And once the market reacted just for Mother's Day, you remember that Mother's Day we had
it was huge.
And we were ready, and that helped a lot. Of course, 2020 was like a roller coaster. Good weeks, then some market closed down, another opened, the other one closed. So it was a roller coaster. In 2021, it was like a really good year in demand. But then at the end of the year, we had the problem with logistics, space, cost, and it was getting a little bit tough at the end of 2021, which carry on until now. No?
Well, I'm glad that everything is back to normal. One of the I saw another question about like grocery stores and versus like the big public, like the big box stores. What do you have a feel for, like maybe what percentage of Ecuador's crops go to the big box stores versus like the just general market?
Well, it has changed dramatically in the last 2 years. There's been a lot of buyouts from I would say Colombian-owned companies. We have 2 big Colombian-owned companies that bought a lot of farms here in Ecuador, and another American-Colombian company that also bought a lot of farms in Ecuador. And those are channeled, I would say, mainly for the big supermarkets, these big chains, supermarket chains. So I cannot give you a percentage, but it's been, how would I say, it's been a dramatic change in what it used to be. For example, most of Ecuador was focused for the traditional chain, importer, wholesalers, florists. Now there's a lot of companies that go directly to supermarkets, maybe 20%, 30%. And there's other companies that, in our case, for us, been good, because we have less competitors that are doing the traditional channel, the wholesale, the florists, and there's more space for us, and the supermarket is taking more of the other companies that were our direct competitors.
Sure. Well, and I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times people don't understand, when you have a chunk of production that's now devoted to grocery stores or mass market type situations, all of a sudden leaves the general population of production, then we have to rely more on fewer farms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why it kind of, in a way, it does drive prices up, which also helps the farms be more profitable, which helps us all stay in business, which people sometimes forget, I think. So I don't know. I'm glad you shared that, and I do appreciate that.
I would like to say, Scott, that the prices that have risen in the last months is not due that we are getting a higher profit. It's the logistic that has increased because, for example, about 2 years ago, the cost of freight from Ecuador to Miami, it was, I mean, you could get freight of, let's say, $1.50 a kilo. And now we are around, if you're lucky, $10 to $2.20 a kilo. So it's only $1 plus per kilo. Fertilizers also are up. So what the rising prices are just covering part of the
Right.
cost in the world. I think we'll see the fertilizers up, I don't know, a year or two. I don't think they're coming down unless there's a dramatic change in the war, in the invasion from Russia to Ukraine, which I don't see it. I think it's going to be a long war and long fight. And so we won't, and building a factory for fertilizers is not from one day to the next. It will take years and huge investments. So I don't see any near future reduction in fertilizer prices. Packaging, maybe we'll get some soon, but it also was affected by the Russian invasion. So prices, I think, will tend to keep the way they are in the next months. I think that the rest of the year for sure.
Yeah.
2023, I'm not sure, but the rest for the year for sure. It will be high.
Well, I appreciate you clarifying that. And I didn't mean it to sound like, oh, they're just making all this money, because nothing is cheaper. So it just helps pay for all those new expenses or added expenses for sure. This is an interesting question that my friend Ellen here is asking about some of the protesters. In the news, it's reporting that they're also protesting for some kind of debt relief or some subsidies for the smaller farmers. Is that part of what's going on, or is that?
There's the protesters have like a 10-point demand or list. One of them is they want like a subsidized for the prices of their production. For example, a farmer that produces potato, they need to have like a minimum price. But of course, and they also want that the groceries, the price of groceries will go down. So how can somebody have a higher price for production and then the consumer have a lower price? Somebody has to pay the difference. So there's no connection between some of the points that they are demanding. For example, they demand that the price of petrol goes down, and one other point that they say that we don't have to extract petrol anymore. We don't have to extract petroleum anymore. But if we subsidize the gas, then we'll need to extract more petroleum, because we'll need more barrels of petroleum for the subsidies of the gas. So there's a lot of how would I say, conflicting demands within the demand they have. For example, one of the demands they ask is that because there's been a lot of small producers in Ecuador, rose producers mainly in the last 2 years. I would say farms of 5,000 meters, 1 hectare, a hectare half, hundreds. And when we produce a new variety, we have to pay royalties.
Right.
Let's say I want to build 1 hectare of Explorer. I have to pay $1, $1.05, $1.10 per plant as a royalty to use, because there's some intellectual property. The small producers, they say they want to pay royalties. The royalties have to be free. But that's one of their demands, and it's impossible, because if breeders that they are breeding in Europe, in the States, also in Ecuador. If you don't pay royalties, how they will survive? It's like if you release a medicine, a drug, and you don't pay at first 20 years the special price, the company cannot do research and release new drugs into the market. So intellectual property is also being discussed within these demands.
Mm. Yeah, that's yeah. There's probably a lot of opinions on that. So, yeah, that's definitely crazy. Well, Eduardo, I know that this is a very busy and crazy time for you, and I value your time and I appreciate you coming on and helping to explain this. If you're just joining our live, I just want to let you know we are going to save this if Instagram lets me to put on our channel, so that way you can watch the video in its entirety later, because this is a perspective of, you know, this is part of the global flower world that we exist in. Even though I know here in the States we are doing everything and anything to promote more local blooms, Ecuador has been a big part of our recent history when it comes to supplying us with flowers. And so I do appreciate your time, and I really hope that your team of people and yourself can stay safe and that this all comes to an end really quickly. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. And we are a very resilient industry. Yes. We found that during COVID that flowers are very important for people peace of mind, that now they're not just a luxury product, but they're also something to have within our reach, in our houses, in our daily life. So I'm very glad that that it has, through COVID, we found out that we are very important in our people's houses, in households. And I'm glad that we, as producer of Ecuadorian roses and flowers, we are able to fulfill that need. So be patient in the next days, but we are working hard to make your business grow. So that's part of our success.
Absolutely. Well said, sir. And I appreciate it. Thank you again so much, Edward.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
much.
Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So everybody, I just appreciate you being on here, and this situation is kind of pretty serious. And I know a lot of times when you're getting answers from wherever you buy your flowers, and sometimes it feels like perhaps, I don't know why I moved this, so I'll put this back up here. You know, sometimes you feel like, I don't know, like maybe somebody's just kind of giving you an excuse or whatever. Being a buyer myself, or our wholesaler, thank you, Freddie. This is a real situation, and I felt like it was really important to go live here. I really, again, want to thank Sahid from New Bloom Solutions, and just thank him for connecting me with Eduardo today, so that way we could hear firsthand from somebody that's literally got his boots in the field and is dealing with these situations, because it is kind of a big deal. I think in the next, even if, like he said, the next couple of days, this situation gets resolved, I know already that there are issues with flights and product availability that are either not connecting with the normal flights or normal schedule. I know I've already been notified on several things, not everything, not by far everything, but some things that are going to probably end up getting delayed. We felt a little bit of it this week. I think we will feel more of it next week. And hopefully by the next week, it will all be back to normal. So that's what we're hoping and praying for. And just know that if your flower suppliers are having some issues, they're real issues, and I really think that we can try to extend some grace and patience, and really try to work with them, because we're all trying to work through this together. Anyway, I'm gonna, like I said, if you just joined, we're gonna go ahead and save this so you can watch it from the beginning. This amazing chat that I got to have with Eduardo Latourt. And so again, I thank him, and I thank his team of people that kind of helped make this possible today. But for tonight, I want to say, y'all take care. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.